Welcome to Madison City Channel Know Your Candidates interviews, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Louise Robbins, and I would like to introduce Tag Evers, running for alderperson from District 13. As we begin, I'd like you to give an opening statement as to the educational, vocational, and civic experience you have, which qualifies you for this office, and why you're running for alder.
Well, thank you, Louise. I moved to Madison in 1988 for grad school, and I never left. In 1992, I took a break from my studies and started a concert promoting business. And in the years since, we've raised tens of thousands of dollars for various nonprofits, including $40,000 in a single night for the Progressive magazine. In 1995, I went back and completed my master's degree at UW-Madison in agricultural and applied economics. Continued promoting shows. In 2006, I bought a house in the neighborhood in District 13. In 2011, I was able to use my skills as an event organizer during Act 10 to bring national recording artists to the Capitol to help us in the protests. I'm running for office because our city is growing rapidly, and right at the moment, it's anticipated that we're going to have 70,000 new residents moving here by the year 2040, and we're already facing enormous challenges in the areas of affordable housing, traffic congestion, threats to our lakes. Then there's the issue of climate change, there's the issue of racial equity. Both of those have enormous pressure on us to respond promptly. Climate change because it's an existential crisis. Racial equity because it's our definitional crisis. It tells us that we in Madison are not one city, but two, and that we have failed to live up to our promise. I'm running for city council. I have experience bringing people together around music. It's my goal and intention to bring people together around the ideas that will improve the lives of all Madisonians.
Lack of affordable housing and the pressure it brings to the issue of homelessness is a chronic problem that Madison can't seem to get ahead of. What new ideas can you advance to help address this issue?
That's a great question. Right now we rely on a couple different tools, the WIDA tax credits and TIF financing. I think that we need to think outside the box. And then talking with Sarah Godlewski, our new state treasurer, she tells us that it may in fact be possible to leverage the state investment fund to create new financial instruments that can help finance affordable housing. These are called social impact bonds and have been used successfully in other parts of the country where we actually leverage private investments. The capital budget is a bit of a mess. We can't go into more debt, but I see that Microsoft, for example, has donated $500 million to help solve Seattle's housing crisis. I think the high-tech industry here in town, perhaps they could form a consortium and come up with, develop a public-private partnership that could help address these needs. We can use our own capital spending to leverage investments from the private sector. We can do this, I know, because one single family donated $205 million to build the Overture Center for the Arts. So there is wealth in this city. We just need to see what we can do to leverage it and target it to these areas of our greatest need.
There's been discussion of the policies and procedures of the Madison Police Department. What is your perspective on whether any changes are needed in ways Madison police operate in our community?
That's another good question. When I moved here 30 years ago, David Cooper was the police chief. And we were national leaders in neighborhood policing and community policing. There was a different, more cooperative vibe, it seemed, with the police then and with city council. It feels like now that things have gotten very antagonistic. And my goal, and if I'm elected to be alder, would to support the excellent frontline officers that we have in the Madison Police Department. I know several of them, and work together to continue on this path towards excellence.
What other public safety issue or issues do you believe are most pressing that need the attention of City Council?
Well, We have a spate of property crime on the near west side, which is in District 13. These are mainly crimes of opportunity, young kids who seem to be running wild, breaking into garages, stealing cars. I think the advice there is that, of course, people need to lock up their cars. They need to, be sensible, and we need to look out for each other. But how can City Council get more involved? Everybody, I think, is on the same page here. We simply cannot arrest ourselves out of these problems. And in large part, it has to do with the challenges we have in our schools, with the racial disparities in our schools. And that's one area that I think the City Council can work more closely with the county and the school district to continue to make progress in these areas. The county is also responsible for investments to deal with the opioid addiction crisis and the mental health crisis. So these are all contributors to public safety issues and crime issues. But I go back to the idea that we can't arrest ourselves out of these problems. We can't live in fear behind locked doors. We need to think about the underlying causes and the root causes.
Many residents perceive Madison to be a divided city, one in which people of color are less likely to thrive than are whites. Do you share this perception, and if so, what might you propose to address the division?
Nearly 20 years ago, I was part of Mayor Sue Bauman's study circles on race. There was a lot of talk, and unfortunately, it seemed like not much action. How little action was documented by the Race to Equity report that came out in 2013, which was followed shortly thereafter by Alex G's Justified Anger Coalition. So yes, I share those concerns that Madison, again, is not one city, we're two, and we failed to live up to our promise. I believe that the city, working more closely with the county and with the school district, needs to really tackle the racial disparities in our schools, the opportunity gap, the achievement gaps. We should not be content to be one of the worst cities in the nation with regard to the opportunity gap. We live in a state that clearly has problems around race, and Madison, I think the question that we should be asking ourselves, Louise, is what it would look like for Madison to become an example to the rest of the nation as a city that finally got its act together around race.
What do you believe is a specific issue of most concern to the residents of your district, and how do you want to work on solving it?
I think many people in the district are, particularly the residents of Bay Creek, are concerned about the plans the city has or what's going to happen in terms of development. We anticipate 70,000 new residents by the year 2040. That's going to require a certain amount of infill. And that can bring a concern to folks who live close to South Park Street, where some of these high rises may be going up. If you live 2 doors down from South Park and you find out that a developer wants to build a 6 or 8 story condo project, that's going to bring concern. But we need to build up, not out, that's clear. But how we do it is critical. We should be exploring, I would think, best practices, things that are being successfully done in other cities to manage this growth so that we can enhance the livability of our neighborhoods, protect and enhance these close-knit neighborhoods that people are consider themselves lucky to live in.
Which council committees do you believe you should serve on, and why?
I would like to be involved with education. The City Education Committee is not as active as I would like it to be. I think there perhaps could be a new committee, a city, county, school district committee, where you would have 2 alders, 2 members of the county board, 2 school board members, and staffed by a member, someone who reports directly to the mayor, directly to the county exec, and to the school superintendent, to really take a hard look at our schools, figure out ways that we can collaborate more. Again, I think that if we took on formed a public-private partnership, had investment dollars from the private sector, we could commit ourselves to eliminating the racial disparities in our schools, say, over the next 10 years. Why is this important and why is it possible? We need to think big. We need to have a moonshot mentality. In 1962, JFK said we're going to the moon by the end of the decade. He didn't know how we were going to get there, but he committed the nation to doing that. I think we need to be bold and think in those terms. How can we not be a laggard? How can we not be one of the worst cities in the nation in this respect, but solve it once and for all?
What one or two personal qualities do you have that will make you the best representative on the City Council for your district residents?
You know, I've spent the last 25 years bringing people together around music and building community. I've had lots of experience working with people with big egos, solving problems, finding common ground. I think I have natural skills in organizing. I view this job as being an alder as one, not that I'm the representative of everybody else and that they can sit at home, but that we, in the spirit of grassroots leadership, find that place in each of us where we consider ourselves a leader and work together to get things done.
What would you like to say to the viewing audience as we complete this interview?
I think that this moment asks a lot of us, Louise. With climate change bearing down on us, as the scientists say, like a speeding train, with this challenge of racial equity, this ongoing conversation that I think many of us realize is a moral imperative, we need to figure out how we can translate these moral imperatives into moral action. And I've chosen to run for City Council for that very purpose, to link arms with like-minded folks to find lasting solutions.
I want to thank Tag Evers for speaking with us and the viewing audience for taking the time to know your candidates. As with every election, please vote. On behalf of Madison City Channel and the League of Women Voters of Dane County, I thank you for joining us.